people from Emmanuel Baptist Church in Lebanon came by because my cousins rode the bus to church there. So they were coming by with their bubble gum to ask if they would be riding the next day. So you show up on Saturdays kind of as a reminder to see if they're coming. Well, I wanted some bubble gum, right? And so...
That seems like something that bus ministries did back then, because I remember I was a bus captain and we had bubble gum that we gave it. What? I don't know. It must have been in some instruction manual.
Well, and I think it's probably cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're going to give it out every week when you stop by.
The golden hour. Hey, any way you slice it. Tennessee is a mission field. The golden hour. Hey, everyone's invited. We making changes, and that's for real. The golden hour. Let's go.
She's battled addiction since high school in Memphis. At 28, she's hit rock bottom in Crossville. Her boyfriend is gone. Her family gave up on her years ago. Her son is hungry, and she doesn't know what to do. It started out as a normal spring day, but that all changed as the winds picked up and lightning flashed on the western horizon. In a matter of minutes, their whole life was turned upside down. He's a construction worker from Traverse City, Michigan, living in an extended stay motel in Brownsville. With his family 800 miles away, his loneliness is palpable. The child lives in Sparta with his grandmother. His mom left him there and never looked back. Christmas will be tough this year because they can hardly afford to eat. A church in Middle Tennessee is about to open, but the church planter wonders where the resources will come from. Will he have to pick up a second job to see this call on his life fulfilled? These and 1,000 stories with 1,000,000 backstories weave their way through the fabric of this state we love so much. We love them because Jesus loves them. We want to invite you to join thousands of other Tennessee Baptists in this radical movement of unfettered grace, love, and new life in Christ. Together, let's reach all people in Tennessee. The Golden Offering for Tennessee Missions. All things Tennessee.
Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Golden Hour. My name is Matt Tullis.
And I'm Beth Moore.
And we are so excited that you're here with us. We are always excited around midsummer because all kinds of new things are coming up for Golden Offering, getting ready. We're running like crazy.
We are.
Vickie is calling me every other minute, asking me for videos and for new things and for misspellings. And so it's a great time.
It is a great time.
And it's very busy for you. I'm excited that we are going to visit with the Vickie Anderson.
The queen of the Golden Offering.
That's right. She is our WMU lady.
Yes.
And but we want to go back a little further. But first of all, thank you so much for joining us for this special episode of the Tennessee Golden Hour.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Vickie's one of my favorite people. I used to work, when I first started with Tennessee Baptist Mission Board, I actually started with Tennessee WMU with Vickie. So she hired me from the mission field. But Vickie, I would love for people to hear your story. And I know that you grew up not going to church.
So my grandparents, when I was a preschooler, they were still going to church at that point, and I went with them. And then for, reasons that happened, whatever unhappiness then, they stopped going. And so it was in third grade when I was visiting at a relative's house that some people from Emmanuel Baptist Church in Lebanon came by because my cousins rode the bus to church there. So they were coming by with their bubble gum to ask if they would be riding the next day. So you show up on Saturdays kind of as a reminder to see if they're coming. Well, I wanted some bubble gum, right? And so...
That seems like something that bus ministries did back then, because I remember I was a bus captain and we had bubble gum that we gave it. I don't know. It must have been in some instruction manual.
Well, and I think it's probably cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if
That's
you're going
right.
to give it out every week when
That's
you
right.
stop by, you know. So you're being a good steward and all. And so that began my journey at Emmanuel Baptist Church through the bus ministry there. And so about a year later, I made a decision to follow Christ and continued coming to the bus ministry pretty much on Sunday mornings. And it was in 7th, 8th grade when I started going to Act Teens on Wednesday night. And so my parents would take me on Sunday night and Wednesday night. I got super involved in all the things. Eventually then worked in the bus ministry as well there at Emmanuel Baptist Church. And so that began my journey there. But Act Teens was my entry point that ignited my passion for missions.
But even before that, tell me about your conversion experience. Did that happen at that time when you were being picked up
Yeah, it did.
there?
So I remember being in the church at that point. I don't know if we were doing children's church or not, but when I walked down the aisle, it was definitely in the big church. And so, yeah, as a fourth grader, doing that and having heard people talk about that through personally, the bus ministry people talking, the Sunday school teachers definitely had a very big part of that. And then, yeah, so walk the aisle, talk to the pastor, and good follow up from the church. But yeah,
It's just such a good reminder, I think, for our churches to hear that now, even the kids that they're investing in, that their parents might not be coming,
Yeah.
might grow up to be leaders in ministry in our state and help promote missions global. I mean, it's just really cool to think. I'm sure the people that picked you up weren't thinking, they were just trying to love the kids that the Lord put in their path.
Yeah, they probably would not have picked me if somebody the Lord had said, someday somebody on this bus is going to be. I doubt that would have been, I would have been the one they would have picked. But.
And the Lord picked you as well to a special calling. Could you tell us about your move to the call to the ministry?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So after graduating from high school, I went to Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville. My major was secondary education math, but I like to say that I majored in the Baptist Student Union, equally as important for me. And so leadership development through that organization, mission opportunities for sure. But the things that began in Act Teens and how Act Teens intentionally is helping to develop leaders continued on that campus. And I think every break there was in the fall and spring, I was going on mission trips. In the summer, I served on the Tennessee WMU camp staff. And so just seeing a variety of ways to do missions and the different people and ways you can minister to. Somebody asked me to go to the nursing home visitation. There was a group that did that. And so I am an introvert. So that can extrovert myself well. But, if you don't respond after my set of questions or pick up the conversation, I have probably moved on. And so I can remember Sharon going with me and helping me to be able to how to make conversation. And so it's like, I like your shirt. And so that's the I like your shirt ministry in my mind for that. But I enjoyed it very much for the time that we were in it and the encouragement to do that. So not my passion, but for that time and season, I did that and got some others involved in that as well. But after I graduated, I stayed another year. Thinking I was going to be a math teacher, and the Lord was working with me on that calling. And so I took a group of students the year I stayed as, they call them now campus missionaries.
Right.
So program assistant that year after graduation, helping during a time of new director, interim director, new director. And I took a group of students to Missions 90, the national student event that happened after Christmas leading up to over New Year's. And it was there that as I heard missionaries talking about their call and how at that point I'm thinking you're making the decision of what you're going to do in your career. And so
Right.
the Lord really opened up that it could be so much more, and that freeing that it could be for a time and season that this is your calling. And so more so I'm going to be open and patient whatever the Lord wants. That's what I'm putting out
Mm.
there. And that led to going to Southwestern Seminary for 3 years, and started out thinking missions, and that's IMB missions. And it was probably that third year that opened up more to, could that be teaching math somewhere, and being a tent maker, bivocational.
Mm.
And so then it almost became overwhelming that it was so many things
Right.
that you could choose from. That what could it be? Never thinking that WMU might be one of those things. When I began thinking, well, maybe WMU at that time, I mean, ladies were working, it was like career that they came and they worked for, and there just weren't many open positions in WMU. And so, and in the spring, starting January, February, that last semester, several openings came up in different states. And for me, I'd worked in the print shop there at the seminary. And so I made copies of lots of things, tests and whatever, but resumes often. And so I would kind of joke and make fun of or not understand the preacher boys as their resumes came through, that here's their hometown and they're wanting to go back to that area. I mean, you could
Wow.
correlate
Yeah,
that
sure.
together. But I was open wherever the Lord, and then I was almost resistant when Tennessee became one of the openings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but I'm willing to go anywhere. And so that was almost a wrestling with could the Lord be calling me back to Tennessee? So I'm
Right.
grateful that Catherine Bryan helped walk me through that process, praying with me, and that did open up. And I came as the preschool children's consultant for Tennessee WMU, and
What
did
year
that
was that?
1993 in November. So yeah, it was 30 years that I've been with Tennessee WMU this past November. So about 10 years as children preschool, and then about another 10 years as missions growth leadership development specialist. And then in January, it'll be 10 years as executive director.
Well, one of the things that WMU helps coordinate or helps us make sure that happens is the Golden Offering
Yeah.
for Tennessee Missions.
Yeah.
And that's coming up soon. We're going to
It
be
is.
promoting that.
Yeah.
Tell us the goal that we're looking ahead to for this coming year.
So in September, we'll be promoting a goal of $2.7 million with a challenge goal of $3 million. And so for this current year, right now, we have just passed 2.3 for the
Wow.
first time, which is great. And we expect that it'll get over 2.4. And so like every day is just a new mile marker, because
Right.
we've
Wow.
already gone over the highest from last year. We've gone over 2.3 million for the first time. And so it's just exciting to see how Tennessee Baptists are working together to be able to reach our state.
One of the things that we do with the Golden Offering for Tennessee Missions is this thing called Job Score. And for me as a pastor, I didn't know about Job Corps, and probably still don't have a 2020 vision on that. What is that?
So yeah, Christian Job Corps is a ministry of national WMU, and so all across the United States, there are sites that are helping men and women. So it's a compassion ministry. So much like that's what Beth does all the time. And so this is
Right.
our little niche of one of our initiated ministries. And so it's working with men and women and helping them to break that cycle of poverty.
Mm.
I like to say not giving them a handout, but a hand up. And
Right.
so that they're doing classes, computer classes, life skill classes, high school equivalency, ESL, the variety of things that whatever the need is in that area. It could be, there's jail ministry. And but the thing that stands us apart, I think, from many other compassion ministries or just organizations that minister to this demographic, is there's a Bible study that the participants have to be in, and there's an assigned mentor
Hmm.
that is walking alongside them. And so, so we don't only want to see that growth for them and their family in the area of stability and growth in education and job security, but you want to see them grow either in the
Right.
relationship they already have with Christ, or that we
Mhm.
pray that they come to know Christ
Right.
during that time. And so right now, we have about 14 sites
Mm.
across the state, and some of those have Christian men and Christian women Job Corps, and like I said, the variety of types of ministries. It's really whatever is a need. We have a recovery that's helping addicts coming out in the recovery process. Um, but yeah, so the variety
Mhm.
is really neat to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
able to do that. And so Golden Offering helps us in having money for a statewide coordinator who helps and pushes that and works alongside with me to do that. But it provides for training, networking, but grants for the sites to help them be able to do
That's
ministry.
great.
So with Christian Job Corps, if a church or an association sees a need to reach people in
Mhm.
poverty in their community and they want to start something like this, they can reach out to you, to
Yep.
WMU, and
Mhm.
there's training that's
Yes.
offered to help them know how to get started, right?
Yes. And if you already have a ministry, but you want to take that next step
Okay.
in growing it to where it becomes a Job Corps ministry because you want to add that Bible study or that mentoring, that we can do that.
Yeah, I think I mean it's one of the most exciting things that I think that WMU does,
Yes.
and a lot of our churches and pastors, like you say, Matt, aren't even aware of how the Lord's working in people's lives and reaching people that are never going to come into our church
Yes.
doors, but might come to a Christian Job Corps site
Mhm.
or a class and through that come to
Yeah.
faith.
And that's a big deal
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as 14 sites
Yeah.
across the state. And that the cooperative program, yes, but also Golden Offering is the main funding source for
For
that.
many of them, there are some that are smaller that is, the site coordinators volunteer, maybe a few expenses, but that helps them with the resources
Right.
and things they want to
Mhm.
do. And then there are some that are bigger that have grown, and what we might can put with that may not be as much as they're getting from other sources, but they value that collaboration and that partnership. And so, connecting them back to churches, whether that's one of our TBC churches or another church. That's a very important element for this ministry. Some of them are partnering with the church
Mhm.
or an associational ministry. Um, but that's also an important component to us that it does put them back in with a local church.
Yeah. One of the things that we've seen, especially post COVID, is the rise in need for mental health care.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the WMU is doing to help people who are really in desperate straits as far as their emotional health.
So, National WMU has for several years had a critical issue, and from literacy to hunger, restorative justice, PTSD, and we're in year 2 of our current issue of mental health, and that'll go on for another 2 years for sure. So it'll be 4 years at this point. And, so as awareness is a key part of that with every, critical issue, project help issue, which is why most of them are going now for more than 2 years because
Mhm.
that awareness you just have to keep doing that awareness piece. But mental health, it's interesting, whether generational, um or the different types of counseling, different people's beliefs in mental health, that, yeah, awareness is gonna continue to be a piece for us, but then trying to do some equipping and training, and so, while we have other people at TBNB who are tasked and are working, with helping pastors and church
Mhm.
staffs, and we very much support that, and one of the ways we're doing that is so that members are also educated so that they
Right.
can be one better mental health themselves, can minister to those that they're around, but can be a help to and understand better if their pastor or church staff are having a problem. We're getting ready to do some mental health first aid classes. We've helped um, a couple of our associations are doing like all day conferences. They have general sessions,
Mhm.
breakout sessions covering lots of topics. During our state event for women missions get together, we always have some mental health type conferences, and we've added a few more to that during this emphasis. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it continues to be important to us and a very timely issue.
Well, Vicki, one of the things that a lot of people might not be aware of with WMU is that there are scholarships
Yeah.
available for young women
And some men.
and some men as well. So tell us a little bit about the WMU
Yeah.
scholarships.
So a majority of our scholarships are funded by the Golden Offering, but our endowments and funds that people have started for specifically for some scholarships are almost catching up to be equal in the funding. But for those going into missions as a career or going into church vocational, but they are missional and are active in missions, or they want to use their vocation. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a vet. I want to be a math teacher, but missions is still going to be a core of what they're doing, that becomes the filter for our scholarships as opposed to others. And so this past year, we got over 70 applications and we awarded like 40 students, and it was about $40,000 total. And so that committee it's always good because it's encouraging to see all these young people who are active in missions and
Right.
are called by God in different ways to meet needs and to share Christ, but also hard at the same time when you have so many that are asking
Sure.
that you have to go through with those. Beth and I are Tennessee WMU scholarship
Yep.
recipients. That those of you who gave back in the day,
I didn't know that about
we
you.
won't go
Yes.
how
That's
far
great.
back that that we were scholarship recipients that helped us in equipping us and being able to go to school to where we are now. And so you do see pastors, missionaries, but you also see, I think of a Danny Bryson, who's been on our board, the TBMB board, the SBC board, is an assistant district attorney, active in her church, and is on mission. And
Right.
so doesn't have to be somebody who's on the mission field, but called by missions, that we've invested in many in that way as well.
Does WMU have any interest in church planting? Just a little bit? Because I
Um,
know you have events. You've had some virtual prayer walks, I believe, or talk
yes.
to us about Denver or
Yeah.
church planting.
So we have a prayer advocacy partnership with Denver, and so we send teams out to prayer walk, meeting with different church planters and hearing from them, praying with them, and then going out and walking or driving the community around that church to be able to pray. And then we encourage those who go on the trip to take that back, and how in their community or with their church, how can they prayer walk and do that. And
Right.
so then we're doing Great Commission conversations highlighting our Denver church planners, but also now this year we've been doing highlighting IMB missionaries and other North American missionaries, just to help people connect with our missionaries more and to know better, to know, how to pray for them better with some specific prayer requests. And so definitely an important aspect for us.
So anything else? Do you have a Great Commission conversation coming up anytime soon, or it's scheduled for the fall?
We do. Let's see. For July, we have Sonia Abrams from the
Okay.
Sin Relief Ministry Center in Memphis, who's going to be sharing with us. She's actually on the Christmas and August list, the Sin
Okay.
Relief Center in Memphis. So we wanted to be able to promote that. And then we have a very special guest in September, right?
I think
September,
so. Yeah.
I'm looking at Beth. I was like, was it August or September?
Yeah.
But September, I think, was the date that worked for us. We're going to have Beth come and updates on the Christmas backpacks. And our ladies love to be involved in the compassion ministries.
Mhm.
And so we like to regularly update them on that. And we'll feature state missions in August as well. We're still working on that one, but those are some of the ones coming up.
I want to ask you, because I know we have pastors who are listening or watching this on YouTube. Uh, from a pastor's perspective, what does the WMU bring that could be an asset to the church and to the pastor? If I'm Joe Smith, who just graduated from Southwestern and did not know anything about WMU, and all of a sudden I find out we have some women who are interested in starting WMU.
I think part of what we want to do is equip people to be on mission to so that they are fulfilling the Great Commission. So making disciples of Jesus who live on mission. And so there are lots of us. We're all called, right? If we're
Right.
if
Right.
we're on this staff, we're called to make disciples of Christ. And so, but the live on mission is the component where we focus in on that as well. And so whether that's through our age level missions discipleship groups from preschool to church wide, many people say WMU and they're thinking of the adult women
Hmm.
in the church,
Right.
women on mission. But WMU is that girl going to GAs, or
Right.
the boy going to RAs. And so, um,
So Ari's, that's connected with
yeah,
WMU as well.
so that's the boys.
Hmm.
Royal Ambassadors, probably better to use the full name instead of the acronyms, right? Um, but there's also that compassion ministry arm, there's leadership development. And so just that overall emphasis. But many of our missionaries will say that it was that being involved in the missions groups that they heard about. Now they're also going on mission trips. There are lots of other ways as well, but it's encouraging to continue to hear those testimonies of.
Right.
And churches will say, well, we write our own curriculum, we do our own thing. And I think the thing with National WMU that there's when they're looking through a child who, I'll use the children's first through sixth grade, there is a plan on what we're going to cover during all that time, so that you're learning some history of missions and getting well-rounded in state, international, and North American missions at the same time. And so I think that intentionality is important, but we also are whether engaging the church to be on mission that might involve our missions discipleship groups, but it may not. And so
Mhm.
we're also called to help churches to see how they can engage their preschoolers, their students, their kids, their adults in missions. And there are lots of different ways
That's great.
to do that. And so,
Week of prayer. Tell us about Week of Prayer.
yeah,
What,
so a week of prayer for this year, the suggested dates are September 8th through 15, but there are churches who customize that and make that work for their church, which is
calendars?
great. But that, our social media, when we get the information out, everything kind of points to that week to get us ready for that. And so, it's just encouraging the churches to not just pass out we just got this today. This is the new
Awesome.
week of prayer brochure for this year. To not just put that in the church bulletin and give it out on Sunday. That yes, we're encouraging everybody to take them home and use them, but every group that meets, whether it's a committee meeting, or whatever gathering is happening, let's during that week, let's pray for state missions.
I understand we've got basically the same two words as theme. Is there any difference between
It's
last year and this year?
It's 3 words.
Three
all
words.
all things Tennessee, because
That's it,
Tennessee is
yeah.
part of it. So it's the same thing, but a different verse. This year we're using 1 Corinthians 13:7. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. As we look at all things Tennessee, and that any way you slice it, Tennessee is a mission field. Just as we were updating our stats and looking at hunger and um, people in jail, oh gosh, the list just goes on and on,
Yeah,
that it can get
lots of
quite
stuff.
depressing to see the many, many needs that are in our state, but to be able to turn that around and see those as opportunities.
And if we
that we
don't
can meet
see what
needs.
the needs are, we're not
Yeah.
going to be motivated to give. But it reminds me a lot of the book of Nehemiah, where he just kind of sat down and wept,
Mm.
and said,
Yeah.
"This place is in ruins, so let's rebuild."
Mm.
And I'm so excited that you're leading WMU. I kind of consider myself a member of the WMU.
Yeah.
I did lifeguard for GA camp in
Well,
college.
there you go.
So,
There you go.
but
We love that.
we're looking forward to it. We're going to have a special week of prayer on Facebook, and we do that every year, and we're looking forward to that. But thank you so much.
So, Vickie, clear up some confusion that might be around. A lot of times we'll hear people call it the Golden State or different things, or people want to know why we call it the golden offering.
Yeah.
So tell us, why is it called the golden offering?
I'm glad to. So in 1902, Mildred Golden, who was the WMU corresponding secretary, which is executive director, is the title now. She led it was the first state to do this, that we should have a season of prayer and an offering for state missions. We'd already had one for international and home missions, but she felt very passionate, and so she brought that to the WMU board, and they approved that. And her husband, W.C. Golden, was the executive director of the Tennessee Baptist Convention at the time. And so the two of them together, writing materials, working on the story of them at home, handwriting everything and
Wow.
bundling it together, and that Mr. Golden would cut the twine to the exact length to be a good steward that it would take to bundle those together to get that delivered, that they led us in those first years for that. And so in 1943, the offering was the WMU named the offering after them. And so it became the W.C. and Mildred Golden offering for state missions. So our GSMO was the Golden State Missions Offering. And so that's to put their first names with that. So that was dropped and it just became Golden State Missions Offering. And then we changed that to the Golden Offering for Tennessee to try to people are saying, why are you giving money? Because Golden State.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so, but that people are they still call it
They
that.
do.
Even though it's been a while for that. The people are still going to WMU circles.
Right.
Yes, we're telling our age there, right? Instead of groups. But it was them that started that. And so we just kind of honor that, in that if you read some of in calling us to have the season of prayer and an offering, that their description of Tennessee as a mission field, you could pull that out, and it is still true today, and
Yeah.
how passionate, how much the Lord laid that on their heart, and that still today, that first offering was only $800. And so while they were disappointed in that, they're like, this is a start. And so that
Right.
has grown to where we have over 2.3 so
Wow.
far for this year, that Tennessee Baptists working together to meet the needs and win the lost here in Tennessee.
That's great. And one of the things that we're praying about, and we would love for you to pray about, is wouldn't it be great on our 150th anniversary of the Tennessee Baptist Convention if every church gave something through the Golden Offering? And so we want to challenge you, if you're a pastor or a layperson, to don't miss out on this opportunity.